raise your hand if you currently play a sport or have ever played a sport. Good. So today I'm going to be talking about mental toughness in sports as well as mind games that go on throughout the season. And as a matter of fact, professional athletes have gone through the same thing that we are currently going through or have gone through. I'll be referencing the book called Mind Gym, which is written by Gary Mack, and it's a book on mental toughness. Throughout my speech, I'll be talking about how to deal with mind games when we're presented with them, the relationship between both physical and mental skill, and lastly, comparing us to a professional athlete. First, I'm going to talk about how we handle mind games. So what are they? It's basically when a coach or a player or your parent says something to make you second guess yourself and basically get in your head. An example of this would be your coach at the beginning of the week saying, this week in practice we're going to have so-called tryouts. And at the end of each practice, he's going to put your number on the board, and if you practice good enough that day, then you'll be traveling that weekend for your upcoming games. So how do you deal with this? Well, the first thing is you have to control your attitude. So your initial reaction may be, well, this is for other players. I've been playing fine, so I'll be fine. And maybe that is the case, but you can't get too comfortable with yourself, and you should rather use this as motivation to play better in practice. Second is to focus on what you can control. In sports, there's a lot that we can't control, so when you simplify the game down and focus on what you can, your best performance will come out. Next, I'll be talking about mental versus physical skill. So who thinks physical skill in sports is more important than mental skill? Good. So a famous quote by golfer Bobby Jones says, competitive golf is played mainly on a 5.5-inch course, the space between your ears. So this quote has many different variations, and is known by athletes across the board because we all know that we need to have a good head on our shoulders. So facing roadblocks, that's basically like feeling like giving up or thinking to yourself, is it even worth it anymore? And this is a lot of times brought by outside factors like your parents, your coaches, like your teammates, people on your team. It is said that 10% of your life is what happens to us, and 90% is how we choose to react to it. This is a quote by Gary Mack from the book. In competition, physical skill is important, don't get me wrong, but it'll only get you so far. Yeah, it may allow you to get that extra layup or that tackle, but what happens before that, before you even step on the field or the court or the ice? Now I'm going to be talking about comparing ourselves to a professional athlete, Phil Dawson. He is Arizona Cardinals kicker, and in his first season, which could have been his last if he didn't make the corrections that he needed, he could not perform in front of his head coach, Gene Stallings. So because of this, he was focusing on, I can't miss this field goal instead of, I need to make this field goal. Gary Mack, who was the author of that book, was the team psychiatrist at the time, and pulled Dawson over saying that he needed to be more task conscious instead of self-conscious or coach conscious. And also to focus on what you can control and then focusing on making it instead of saying, I can't miss this. So today we discussed how to deal with mental games, mind games when you're approached with them, the importance of mental skill, as well as comparing us to a professional athlete. Every athlete has something or someone that they play for, whether it's yourself or your goal to get a national championship. Your road in getting here, playing a college sport, is not easy, so give your guys yourself some credit.